Next speaker is Miss Sarah Perucho Martinez. Miss Sarah Perucho Martinez is currently Policy Officer at the European Commission, Directorate General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. Unit B.4, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fisheries policy. This unit is responsible for implementing the European Union IUU fishing policy under the EU Council Regulation number 1005/2008. It was known for IUU regulation. So I would like to ask Sarah to give the presentation from EU perspective. Sarah, you have a floor. Please unmute and share the screen.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. So I will start sharing my screen first. Okay. So hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today and to talk a little bit about the EU support to the ASEAN to combat IUU fishing. Well, as an introduction, I would like to report about
We can hear you well. You hit something, no?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, now it's okay.
Now, can you hear me now? Okay. Good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, I was saying that I would like to first say some words to introduce the EU-IUU policy. Well, we all know that IUU fishing is a global problem. It's one of the main threats to the sustainability of the oceans. It deploys fish stock, destroys marine habitats, and most importantly, it puts honest fishermen in a disadvantaged position. $22 billion is the estimated value of illegal fishing worldwide. This is what we are talking about. And we have to keep very much in mind that the oceans are a source of life on Earth. They are responsible for half of the oxygen that we breathe and for determining weather patterns across the globe. We are now really very focused on global change, warming, and all the environment problems we are experiencing, and this is very much linked to all the things that happen in our oceans. So we have to consider that combating IUU fishing worldwide must therefore be a priority now more than ever. The EU has established a firm global leadership on oceans. We aim for cleaner, healthier oceans that are more resilient to climate change and can be a source of sustainable growth. The fight against IUU fishing is a priority for the European Commission. This has been very clearly stated by the newly appointed President of the European Commission, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen. She calls for a zero tolerance towards IUU fishing. We are really very focused on the promotion of these fights. And we are ready to promote the support of other countries in improving their control systems, but we are also prepared to use all the tools at our disposal to ensure that this fight is effective. And these include, as a last resort, banning imports of fishery products from countries that cannot guarantee that their fish stem from legal fishing. Following the mandate of Mrs. von der Leyen, the EU is committed to continue working with the EU international partners to develop measures, rules, and systems to tackle IUU fishing. The basis for the EU-IUU anti-IUU fishing policy is, as you said in the introduction, the EU-IUU regulation. It must be highlighted that this regulation does not introduce any new conservation and management measures, but it's based on already existing international use, like the Law of the Sea, the Fish Stock Agreements, the PSMA, the International Plan of Action on IUU, and the RFMOs. It aims at providing management and control, at improving, the management and control of flag states over their vessels in line with international law. It's a transparent and non-discriminatory instrument. The EU engagement on the fisheries domain is not only domestic, but also international. Our action in the fight against IUU is at the center of our priorities. The EU promotes the PSMA in the framework of its cooperation on IUU fishing and its sustainable fisheries partnership agreements, as well as through the implementation of all the port state measures in RFMOs and the participation in FAO regional workshops. In relation to the capacity building, the European Commission, in the context of the EU-IUU regulation, has supported and encouraged a number of their countries to ratify and implement the PSMA. And when requested, provided technical assistance in identifying gaps and providing help in elaborating legislation to ensure a proper port state control. So now I would like to focus a little bit on the EU-ASEAN cooperation. What is the state of play, what has been done, and what is the plan, what are the plans for the future? So the ASEAN EU relation is old. It started in 1972, and currently the actions or the developments are based on the plan of action established for 2018-2022. This plan has a specific objective in terms of IUU fishing, and it aims at strengthening fisheries cooperation, including, among others, the supporting to combat IUU fishing and promote sustainable fisheries management and aquaculture development. The EU and the ASEAN member states have been working together to find ways of better fighting IUU in the region. This is not new. This has been going on for some years already, because ASEAN is a clear priority region for the EU-IUU policy. And this is absolutely logical, because Southeast Asia is among the world top producers of fish and fishery products. So in the context of this cooperation, the European Union established a program which is called E-READI, the Enhanced Regional EU-ASEAN Dialogue Instrument, which is a comprehensive instrument and demand-driven dialogue instrument that supports ASEAN regional integration by drawing on European experience and facilitates ongoing or new dialogues between the EU and ASEAN in policy areas of joint interest. This is an important cooperation program, to which the EU has devoted 20 million euros for the implementation in a 6-year period that started in 2017. This E-READI instrument is a comprehensive one, as I said, and it covers many different areas and policies, but as regards fisheries, it established it established 3 different dialogues. One dialogue is focused on an ASEAN general fisheries policy. It is, its objective is to promote sustainable fisheries management in the region, taking as an example the EU Common Fisheries Policy. There is a second dialogue that is focused on illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. It was created as a dialogue to exchange experience and explore ways of better joint coordination among the countries of the region. And the third dialogue, which is not really, as Dr. Camilleri said, it's not really linked to IUU fishing, but it's related to the fishing sector, is a dialogue on labor issues in the fishing industry that has been an increasing problem in the last year and should also be assessed. So the first dialogue is focused on the possibility to establish an ASEAN general fisheries policy. The purpose of this dialogue is to see if there is, develop a feasibility study report. This study, what it has done is to review the current state of of the ASEAN resources, what is the regional policy already existing, and the institutional frameworks for fisheries management and cooperation. So it pretends to study if this ASEAN general fisheries policy is really feasible. It has focused on the past experience, thematic area selection, and it has drafted some recommendations, identifying the parties, organizations, and institutions that have to collaborate on the development of this future ASEAN general fisheries policy. The second dialogue that I mentioned is the IUU dialogue. This dialogue had conducted 2 meetings. The first meeting took place in Bangkok in April 2019, and the second meeting was held also in Bangkok in December 2019. The first meeting brought together all the relevant enforcement agencies and national authorities competent on IUU fisheries. And it was really a very good forum to exchange information and activities and the different scenarios of the different ASEAN member states. The objective of this first meeting was to intensify the cooperation and the information and intelligence sharing on the region, and also to discuss and identify priorities and best practices. As this first ASEAN meeting on combating IUU fishing in partnership with the EU had a very good outcome. It was a proposal put forward by Thailand to create an IUU network. This was presented as a platform to exchange information on IUU fishing activities in a very practical way, as an operational tool to improve the communication and the cooperation between the member states to detect particular and specific cases of IUU fishing in the region and be able to act and to put in place measures in a swift and very practical manner. It has been highlighted and stressed that this IUU network should complement existing efforts at a regional level to fight against IUU fishing. Like, for example, the regional plan of action on IUU and all the SEAFDEC activities that you explained in the first presentation of today. The EU really encourages the ASEAN member states to commit to this regional initiative because we deem that it will reinforce regional cooperation on the fighting of IUU in the region. Why do the EU support the creation of this IUU network, ASEAN IUU network? We consider that it could be a good tool to enhance regional cooperation and to develop and use common investigative tools for information and intelligence sharing on real-time basis to track and identify those vessels suspected of IUU fishing. It could also be useful to analyze information gathered and build robust cases to ensure the appropriate follow-up action. It also pretends reinforce the capacity on monitoring, control, and surveillance, in particular in those countries that are less developed now. And this would be really important to establish a level playing field in the region. So, as I mentioned, a second meeting of this IUU dialogue took place in Bangkok in December 2019, and the main purpose of this meeting was to adopt the terms of reference, rules of procedure, and cooperation framework of this IUU, ASEAN IUU network. It was a very there was a very useful discussion, but it was not possible to reach an agreement on these documents during the meeting. But there was a commitment to continue internal consultation to finalize these IUU documents. Apart from this, the second meeting was a very good opportunity to exchange the information regarding the activities that the different ASEAN member states were developing at that moment. We are glad now to learn that the ASEAN IUU network documents have been finalized and endorsed by the ASEAN Working Group on Fisheries in July 2020, this last month, and presented to the Special Zone on Agriculture and Forestry in August, so this month, and the meeting agreed to submit the documents to the 42nd meeting of the ASEAN Ministers of Agriculture and Fisheries, scheduled for the end of September for endorsement. So we consider that this is very good news. So in conclusion, the EU-ASEAN cooperation on IUU, I would like to stress or to emphasize that the EU is committed to continue supporting ASEAN to improve regional cooperation to fight against IUU fishing. The EU strongly supports the creation of this ASEAN IUU network, and the EU looks forward to receiving this confirmation of the establishment of the IUU network at ASEAN level, and hopes that it will be operational very soon. Well, I would also want to explain a little bit something about the IT catch, which is an informatics system that the EU has developed to establish the catch certification scheme. Well, as you know, the European Union, under the IUU regulation that I mentioned previously, has, and also Dr. Camilleri mentioned it, has a catch certification scheme that requires that flag states certify the legality of the fish. And this must ensure the traceability of all marine fishery products that are traded from any third country to the EU. This system aims at ensuring that the countries comply with their own conservation and management measures and the international agreed rules. This system is a very good tool to fight against IUU fishing, and the EU has considered that considers that it has had very good results till now. However, since 2010, it has been based on paper, and this has proved to have some important limitations because there is a potential of fraud as the controls are not harmonized among all the member states of the European Union. And this means that the level of implementation can be uneven. Therefore, the member states and the industry, NGOs, and European Parliament have been calling to develop an IT system to move from a paper-based system to an electronic system. This would really manage CAT certificates in a much more efficient way. It will harmonize controls and verifications at EU borders and will facilitate the cooperation among the competent authorities. Most importantly, it will avoid abusive use of CAT certificates because there will be an EU-wide quantity management, and this will prevent the overshooting of CAT certificate quantities. It will also include a basic risk analysis and will really create a level playing field for all operators throughout the EU. And it will, when it's fully implemented, it will mean a reduction of the administrative burden for all the authorities and also the stakeholders. The system is already in place. It's available to the IUU authorities and the EU stakeholders. But the problem is that now it is voluntary. So there is no obligation to use the system, but it's only those member states or operators that want to use it. They are now allowed to do so. But for the system to really be useful and fully operational, we need a legal basis to make it compulsory. And now we are in the process of amending the legislation so that the system will be compulsory use in all the member states. So here you can see the state of place of how it will be in the future and how it is now. So now it is only voluntary for all the stakeholders, all the persons, the authorities involved and the stakeholders. After the change in the legislation, it will become mandatory, but only for EU member states authorities and for EU importers, but never for third countries. For third countries, it will remain voluntary because we cannot impose this electronic system to third countries, but we consider that the more it will be used by third countries, the less burdensome and the more useful it will become, and more reliable the information will be. And to finish with my presentation, I would like to mention that there was a seminar that was already planned for March 2020 in Bangkok to explain to all the interested countries in Southeast Asia how the system works, and to explain in more detail how the system works and how to use it. Unfortunately, this seminar had to be postponed. For the time being, it has been scheduled for December 2020, but we will see. Of course, we cannot really know now if this will be possible or not, but these are the plans. And this regional conference will be a good opportunity for the industry and also for the authorities in the area to know more about the system, because it will be a hands-on seminar where the participants will have the opportunity to work on the training environment of the IT system. So they will be able to register in the system and to see how the system will work, introducing in a training environment certificates themselves. So this was all. I'm fully available if you have any questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sarah, and very deep dialogue from ASEAN member states, and also you mentioned about new movement for IT catch, and I think everybody very interested in. And may I ask about IT catch, and if ASEAN member state want to export something, and then they have to use your new system to export? In your question, in your slide, so it's third country voluntary, but if they want to export, it's probably easier. You provide the system, and they can simply type it in all information and export. And could you elaborate this?
Yes, sure. Thank you for the question. Well, actually, as I said, it will not be compulsory for third countries. That's for sure. But should third countries decide to use the system, it will really facilitate a lot the exports, because the operator, the exporter, will have to introduce all the data in the system, and this would go to the competent authority in this exporting country, and the information will go directly to the person responsible in the member state to do the import controls. So it will really facilitate the procedure, and it will really be an extra guarantee to prevent fraud. So, and it will be up to the exporter to introduce the data in the system. In case that the third country does not want or cannot use the system and decides not to use the system, there will be no problem. The paper certificate will be accepted as it is today, and the burden to introduce all the data in the system will be up to the importer. So in case a country that exports fish and fishery products to the EU don't use the system, the procedure will be as it is today. That won't change. It will be the importer, the one that has to copy all the information that it's in the catch certificate, in the paper catch certificate, introduce it in the system, and this information will be passed to the competent authority in charge of doing the import controls. And then the paper certificate will have to be scanned and attached to the information that the inspector at the border has to control.
Okay, thank you very much. And so ASEAN member state can choose a system they want to use. And also SEAFDEC now providing electronic ASEAN catch documentation scheme, which include all key data element, plus depends on the country, some data they need to put in. So we each member state just study both system and how they combine those two systems or something like that. We have to play with for a while to facilitate information goes one country to the other accurately and correctly. Yeah.
Yes, if I may, I would like to add something, because this point that you are raising now, it's very important, because of course there are many countries in the world that already have their own electronic catch certification systems, and this has been taken into consideration, and the IT catch is compatible with the international fisheries language in the IT world, which is called FLUSH, and it's established by UN. It's called UNC FACT. It's a specific language that will allow that the systems can communicate each other. So this is like a standard language that is promoted now in all the IT systems worldwide. And the EU IT catch will be completely, totally compatible with this language. So as long as the other IT systems are also compatible with the UN CFACT, then information exchange will be possible. So this is something important also to take into consideration for other third countries that are developing these electronic systems or plan or have already these electronic systems in place, that the language, the informatic language that they use is compatible with this international standard. And therefore it will be able to exchange the information.
Okay, thank you very much. And sorry to say, but time is running out, and I have to ask you a final question. And what should ASEAN member states consider most to combat IUU fishing from your experiences? What is a prioritized area we have to focus on right now in ASEAN region?
Well, as I said, the EU is very focused on the regional integration in the area. So as I said, the E-READI instrument is focused on the improvement of this regional integration. So the EU is very much in favor of increasing this cooperation inside the ASEAN member states, so they can really act like a group, no, as a single entity. So this is our first and main priority. Notwithstanding this, you know that we have bilateral dialogues with many of the ASEAN member states. And of course, you know that we have the carding system established by the IUU regulation. And the moment that a third country is identified or pre-identified as a non-cooperative country on IUU fishing, then we established a formal dialogue. And there are two countries now, well, one country which is under the yellow card in the region, and one country that is under the red card. And of course, the dialogue and the exchange of information and the cooperation with these two countries is much more intense than with others. But there are other countries in the region, as you know, that were before under the yellow card, and we have established IUU working groups with them. And within this framework, we are also having a very, very close cooperation and exchange and contacts. So yeah, that's the overall picture. We want to promote the ASEAN as a single entity, as the region, but we will continue with our bilateral dialogues with each member of ASEAN.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much for a nice presentation. And for sure, we have to continue the dialogue between EU and the ASEAN member states. And thank you very much.